Mustafa, so good to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. So you have an interesting announcement, a new model that is an AI transcription model called This is actually My One, right? Even though there's a second version of some of the other language models, right? Tell me about it. I want to know, what it is and what sets it apart from other AI transcription.
So we now have a family of models, actually. So we've got MyTranscribeOne, and this is now the best transcription model in the world. On the top 25 languages, on the top 11, we're number one. The remaining 14, we're better than Gemini and OpenAI. Not only are we state of the art, best quality, but we are also 2x more GPU efficient, which is a super important achievement. I mean, our primary objective is that we want to constantly save on cost so that we can pass that on to all of our consumers and our enterprises. And so in Azure Foundry, this is actually going to be the cheapest of any hyperscaler for transcription. And this is a huge workload that is blowing up, across the company. Many agentic developers now who are using AI coding assistants are actually managing teams of agents, and often they're doing so in voice. We also know that on the consumer side, voice is going through the roof. We also use transcription in Teams, as well as Facilitator and many other features that are using transcription. So it's pretty key.
And so there's tons of, as you mentioned, tons of AI transcription software. I mean, now if I do a voice memo on my iPhone, I get a transcript. So tell me what is different about this. What's what makes it better? What sets it apart in these benchmarks?
So I think the key thing is that it's really good at dealing with noisy environments. So if you have background noise because you're in an office, it's really good at detecting who the speaker is and pushing out that background noise. It's also really good at detecting different accents. So it's much, much more diverse in that sense, regional accents in different languages. I think that is very much testament to what the team did in terms of collecting a very, very large, very diverse, very high quality data set. So the model has seen a tremendous amount of past experience. As well as that, they've also trained an extremely efficient architecture. So a lot of these speed ups that we've been able to deliver come from the modeling team, in addition to also our inference serving stack as well, which has been optimized specifically for this. And we've done the same thing with voice generation as well. So we now have state-of-the-art voice generation models in many, many different languages and accents. And we've got state-of-the-art image generation too. So we actually achieve the same quality as ChatGPT Image 1.5, which is what we have live in our products. But we do it with 2x fewer GPUs. So it's lightning fast, best quality, priced at the very best in the market for any hyperscaler. And so I think we've really managed to deliver on the three most important variables to enterprises, developers, startup founders, etc.
So the idea is like you could be using something like Cursor, right? And you're a developer and you're building software, and you could say, I want to use these models for just the voice. Like maybe I'm using Claude Code or something, or Claude on the back end. But I'm going to use these models for the voice back and forth because I think it's picking up what the more of the nuances of my accent or my language. Is that sort of the idea?
Exactly right. So if you're a developer and you're building a new product or service, you'll obviously select which voice model to use, and the main things that matter to you is it the best in the world? Is it the fastest that anyone can deliver? This is 2x faster. And is it the cheapest that's available? So, we fully expect this to drive maximum adoption because of that. Everybody is now using voice, not just transcription, but generation, because, if you're coding up your own agents, you want to be able to talk to them, on your headphones or when you're out busy, when you're in between meetings. And so this is the new production function. And that's why we actually focused on it as the first step in our superintelligence journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we've all had these experiences, right? When you're talking to any kind of voice assistant, it's almost like you start to speak in a different way, right? It's not your natural voice because you want it to understand you. And that's almost like a mental load in itself, and sometimes can be kind of I don't know, annoying, and it's just easier, it's easier just to type it in. Are you able to, is the goal to sort of like be able to have a much more natural kind of like a conversation you'd have with a human being? Is that ultimately what you're trying to get to?
Exactly. Like it's already got really good expressiveness and prosody. So prosody is like the fluency between words, so that one word rolls into the next, so that the pauses are correct. All of that we've paid very careful attention to the smoothness of the delivery of the generation. And that's because we can see, even in our own team, many of our top developers are managing teams of agents. And you want to coordinate those just as you would with anyone else. So the interrupt is key, but also the latency is critical. Like you want it to immediately stop generating or start generating at the right time. And of course, you want it to be affordable. So, getting those three right has been, the big challenge.
When you think about this, it's like there's a lot of when you take voice and translate it to text, you realize like how compressed and like lossy that process is. There's so many nuances in voice, and I'm just wondering like where we are now. I mean, can it pick up, sarcasm, or if I say a word more loudly or emphasize it in a way, does it get that? Does it understand? Or is that something for the next version of these models?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to think about it is that these are components in people's stacks. If you have a Claw, or if you have a Claude agent, whatever your setup is, you basically want to be able to embed transcription and voice generation in various different parts. Like in Teams, for example, like having real live translation and transcription is critical across many languages. We also are going to have, we have a facilitator agent that documents meetings, summarizes them at the end, and then is able to sort of send you a little voice-based summary of what happened if you missed a meeting, for example. So these are the sorts of product features that we're applying this to, later in the year. And I think it's going to really feel like a step change, because your entire development environment is going to kind of start to be much more interactive and much more animated. You'll leave your desktop, you'll go to your laptop, you'll go to your phone, and you'll make a call and follow up on a task that you've been pursuing for a little while. So they're very fundamental capabilities. And my motivation in starting here was that we wanted to deliver absolute state of the art. Like, we are a frontier lab building, our own AI self-sufficiency mission, pursuing full superintelligence in the future. And this is the first kind of waypoint along that journey, which we kicked off in earnest last autumn. We founded the team basically in October or September. And that was really after we were able to renegotiate the contract with OpenAI so that we could pursue our own independent superintelligence and self-sufficiency missions. And that's really what we've started in earnest over the last 6 months.
So can you take us like under the hood a little bit on how you built these models? Is it a different data set? Is it reinforcement learning to sort of like teach the models, how to understand language in a more nuanced way? Can you give us some insight into that?
I think one of the most surprising things to people will be that we've produced this transcription and voice generation model with less than 10 people, working for about just under 10 months. So I've always believed that if you can get the very best talent in the world, create a bubble around them so they have absolutely everything that they need, they're completely unblocked all the time, they can really deliver 10x impact. And I think that they've proven that this time around. The same, by the way, with our image team. Our image team is 9 people. And so all of the craft is in curating the perfect data set. And we are completely committed to what we call clean lineages. It means data that has been acquired in all of the correct ways. I mean, a lot of these open source models have, collected data in, let's say, unconventional ways. Like at Microsoft, our brand promise is that it's got to be secure, reliable, trusted. And so we deliver it to the highest possible standards. I also think there's important innovations in the architecture. These are super efficient models. Like I said, 2x fewer GPUs, to serve our transcription model. They're lightning fast. And latency is obviously critical if you're to have this like fluent, very natural sounding experience with voice or with image.
Yeah. So there part of this is translation. So do you think people will be, speaking in one language and then having it translated into, let's say you're a non-English speaker, and you're coding. Do you want to then translate it into English and then have it code? Is that kind of the workflow that you're saying?
I mean, actually, more so than that, there are many, many people in the world who actually speak two languages simultaneously. I mean, you take Hindi and English, or Spanish and English, or indeed Arabic and English, or Arabic and French. You'll often have people like just basically seamlessly switch between languages. One of the things we really pushed on was to make sure that we had really high quality, data sets that have many different accents, where people had used multiple languages, and in fact, where there were conversations between speakers of one language and respondents in another language. So, really getting very broad coverage, both of super high quality, like in the booth speakers, but also the long tail of really, really noisy, hard to understand languages. I mean, we actually had some fun as a team trying to go head to head against the transcription model. So you basically get like a 10-second clip, and then you have to like write down one sentence. The model is better than all of us humans. And some of these like clips, you can barely hear what's being said because of the background noise or people speaking over each other. So I think it really is true state of the art. It's very, very impressive to see the performance.
That's really interesting. And I mean, I think when you look into the future and you think how efficient can these get, there's a lot of opportunities for like hardware products and things, right? Where you want to bring this stuff with you, you know, on your phone, your glasses. We've seen, I mean, I have a pair of those Meta glasses and they'll do the live translation, but it's kind of feels like it's not quite there on the hardware side yet. Like, do you see a world where these things are just integrated and working on, in the edge, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of headroom. I think the models are going to get a lot better. I think the mission that we have in our superintelligence team is both to deliver the very best quality, but also make them the fastest and the cheapest. I think a lot of our enterprise customers are looking at their serving costs at the moment and thinking, okay, there's like a huge amount to try and optimize, and that's kind of like the key thing that we're fixated on, is like how do we get the price down, how do we make it fastest, and that's really what drives maximum adoption, obviously, whilst being the best in the world. I mean, they have to be number one, and that's the kind of philosophy of our super intelligence lab.
Yeah, just maybe I think as we run out of time, like one last question would be just, what is it like right now in this world where you're seeing companies have to make really tough decisions about the products that they're able to keep around just because compute is so scarce? I mean, give us a flavor of what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very intense time. I think that we're seeing an explosion of inference demand. Many of the products that we have across the company are clearly hit, true PMF, and the adoption rates are growing exponentially. Actually, Satya came to visit us yesterday at our meetup in Miami, spent the whole day with us. I, did a fireside with him for an hour. And, we talked through our long-term roadmap of models for the next 3, 4 years, 5 years. And, a key thing for Microsoft, I mean, we are the biggest buyer of NVIDIA chips in the world. We're the biggest customer. And so we have an enormous fleet on inference, on first-party consumption, on training. And our goal is to make sure that our customers that come to us, regardless of model lineage, have the very best models in the world, whether it's Anthropic, whether it's OpenAI, whether it's the My series. And crucially, they can't just have the absolute frontier. They've got to have the most affordable and the fastest. And so, I think there's kind of a lot of breathlessness in the market at the moment about everything, sort of going through the roof. But there's actually an enormous advantage in being just behind the frontier, which is where we're sitting at the moment. It's very expensive to produce the absolute best models first. And there's enormous efficiency gains that you see just being 3 to 6 months or 9 months off the frontier. Everyone knows that when you ship something first time round, you just try to get it out the door first, and there's all kinds of things that you have to leave behind on the table. And that's a very like privileged position for us because we basically get to use all the preview versions of the best models in the world, both for our in-house development and for our first-party consumption. And we basically use that to make sure that we make our in-house lineage as hyper efficient as possible, whilst obviously getting the best quality as well. So yeah, I'm very excited for the next few years. It is an unbelievable time to be making stuff. It's so surreal. It's super cool.
That's fascinating. Thanks so much for the time. It's great to see you as always.
Yeah, pleasure. Great to see you, Reed. Take care, man. Thanks a lot.